When Peter was a young boy, his father told him a story about Albert Einstein. His father said that Einstein had given him a piece of advice that he had never forgotten: always be silent in 5 situations. The first was when you are angry. The second was when you are sad. The third was when you are worried. The fourth was when you are tired. And the fifth was when you are happy. Peter never really understood the advice until he grew up and started working in a busy office. He found himself getting angry and stressed out all the time, and he started to take Einstein's advice to heart. Whenever he felt angry or upset, he would take a deep breath and remain silent. Whenever he was worried or tired, he would take a break and recharge his batteries. As time went on, Peter became known in his office for his calm and composed demeanor. He never raised his voice or got flustered, even in the most stressful situations. His colleagues often came to him for advice, and he was always happy to help. One day, Peter was promoted to a higher position in the company. He was now in charge of a team of people, and he knew that he would have to work even harder to maintain his composure. But he was ready for the challenge. He knew that the power of silence was his greatest weapon. Over the years, Peter continued to live by Einstein's advice. He remained calm and collected in all situations, and he found that he was able to achieve more than he ever thought possible. He learned that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. In the end, Peter realized that the power of silence was not just a piece of advice from Einstein, it was a way of life. And he was grateful for the wisdom that had been passed down to him from one of the greatest minds in history. Silence is the most powerful weapon in the world. Anger is best left unsaid. When you're sad, sometimes silence is the best company. Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. Rest is not idleness, and to lie sometimes on the grass under trees on a summer's day, listening to the murmur of the water, or watching the clouds float across the sky, is by no means a waste of time. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Being calm is a superpower. The greatest self is a peaceful smile that always sees the world smiling back. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Let your words be few and your thoughts be deep. When words are scarce, they are seldom spent in vain. It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. In silence, we can hear the whispers of our soul. Silence is a source of great strength. The real art of conversation is not only to say the right thing at the right place, but to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. You can hear the footsteps of God when everything is silent. The wise speak because they have something to say, the fools because they have to say something. The more you say, the less people remember. The fewer the words, the greater the profit. The less you say, the more weight your words will carry. Quiet people have the loudest minds. Silence is a true friend who never betrays. Silence is often the loudest sound. It's not the words that count, it's the meaning behind them. Words are like arrows, once released they cannot be called back. Words can be weapons or they can be medicine. Silence is the language of the soul. What we say and how we say it can change the world. Words may show a man's wit, but actions his meaning. Speech is silver, but silence is golden. The ultimate wisdom of life is not to speak too much. The less you talk, the more people will listen. Silence is golden, especially when you don't know what to say. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. True silence is the rest of the mind, and is to the spirit what sleep is to the body, nourishment and refreshment. Listen to the silence. It has so much to say. When words fail, music speaks. Silence is the perfectest herald of joy. Silence can sometimes be the most eloquent response. The ability to stay calm and collected is the ultimate form of strength. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the absence of noise. There is a certain power in silence, and it's not to be underestimated. The power of silence can bring peace to the loudest of minds. Silence is the only answer to the question of life. The power of words can move mountains, but the power of silence can calm a raging storm. Words can heal or harm, but silence can soothe even the deepest of wounds. Silence is the space between the notes, the breath between the phrases. The most meaningful conversations are often the ones that are said without words. Silence is a virtue, not a weakness. A wise man speaks because he has something to say, a fool speaks because he has to say something. Silence is a form of respect, a way to honor the moment and the people in it. In the silence, we find ourselves, and in ourselves, we find the world. Silence is the canvas upon which we paint the colors of our life. Words are the music of the soul, but silence is the rhythm that gives it meaning. Silence is a reminder that sometimes the best way to be heard is to say nothing at all. The sound of silence can be deafening, but it can also be the sweetest sound you'll ever hear. Silence is not the absence of noise, but the presence of peace. The quieter you become, the more you can hear the voice of your heart. Silence is the language of the wise, the voice of the thoughtful, and the melody of the soul. Silence can be a gift, a moment of stillness and clarity in a world that never stops talking. The art of conversation is not just in the words we say, but in the space we leave for silence to be heard. Silence is like a mirror, reflecting the true essence of who we are. In silence, we find the answers that we seek, and the courage to face our fears. Silence is the ultimate act of self-care, allowing us to recharge and renew our spirits. The power of silence can create a bridge between two hearts, where words fail to reach. Silence can be the most powerful protest, speaking louder than any words ever could. The sound of silence is the melody of the universe, reminding us of the beauty and mystery of life. Silence can be the ultimate act of love, a way to hold space for others without judgment or interruption. In the silence, we find the wisdom of the ages, and the courage to face the challenges of our time. Silence is the gateway to our deepest self, where we can find the courage to follow our dreams. The true beauty of silence is not in the absence of noise, but in the presence of peace. Silence is the language of the heart, and the voice of the soul. In the stillness of silence, we can hear the whispers of our ancestors, guiding us on our journey. Silence is the canvas upon which we paint the colors of our emotions, giving them shape and meaning. Silence can be the greatest teacher, showing us the way to live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. The true art of conversation is not in the words we say, but in the intention behind them, and the space we leave for silence to be heard. Silence is the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe, and the secrets of our own hearts. In the stillness of silence, we can hear the voice of God, guiding us on our path. Silence is a way to honor the sacredness of life, and to acknowledge the interconnectedness of all things. The power of silence is not in what we say, but in the energy we bring to the moment, and the intention behind our words. In the quiet of our own hearts, we can find the courage to live our lives authentically, and to follow our own path, wherever it may lead.